All right.
All right.
We are live.
Live once again.
And you can see it's daytime outside because we are actually going to an event later. So we want to be able to do this live podcast a little earlier in the day. So technically we're not being night owls. I'm sorry about that. But
Afternoon, early evening owl.
early evening before dinner. I mean, it's like kind of, yeah,
The
early
snack
bird
owls.
owls. Yeah. So I'm going to start out today with a little prayer. Why don't you move back a little bit? Because then there we go. We're burning some sage because that's what we do. That's what I do in this apartment. I burn some sage because we want to get good vibes going. I'm Megan.
I'm Matt.
And you are watching The Night Owl. So we are saging because, you know, I've been getting some good vibes from people and family, and just lately have been feeling good overall about where I am in my life and where Matt is and how we are with our bonding. And by the way, Matthew, show me your new haircut. Do a side profile there. Yeah. So I did not cut his hair, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. I recently have been going to that place called Handsome Bastard over in Rogers Park. And I took Matthew with me because, you know, I wanted him to have a change. I recently got my hair cut again. So it's definitely like a faded cut. And I love the way they did it. You know, they use like multiple clippers on you to get the cut that you want, and all of the artists are very talented and they all have a special niche about them. But Matthew, I took him to get his hair cut, and I have been cutting his hair since I've known him for 10 years, if you can believe it. And I just, after the quarantine, I just kind of got tired of doing it, and I figured, hey, take him with me, get his hair cut first, break the ice with us, and I was proud that you did that. It was
who better to find a professional replacement than the professional herself? So it worked out real well.
Yeah, and I think he was always like, I don't want anyone else to do it. I like when you do it. And I'm like, you know what? I think it's nice if someone else does it and we can go together and have it be a couple thing. And yeah, it ended up being really nice, and I thought it was really good. So this shirt, you guys, I got at Ross. I normally do not like going shopping unless it's for my apartment or like furniture, but I recently went clothes shopping, so I got this little Hawaiian shirt. It's very comfortable. You could wear it. It's like linen. So I was actually really surprised that when I went to Ross, I was able to buy several things that fit and that looked good and felt comfortable and were affordable. So that was all the checks off my boxes right there. Yeah. So that's the other thing that I've done this week that I thought was different. And then also just collabing with new people, trying to get some new projects for my videography, and just trying to get out there with, you know, get back in there because the quarantine was really hard. I know during the summer I did do some shoots for the magazine I was working with, and I've recently reconnected with them. But it was kind of hard this quarantine, not having another artist to be able to work with. So this summer is going to be different. We got our shots. I'm going to get my next shot. So I think it'll be easier to be able to be around people and not feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to spread COVID to someone, or you know, things are opening up more now. So I think that's really good. So today I wanted to talk about two topics. So let's have a drink first. This is a pineapple cart beer by Golden Road. Let's try a sip of this. Me and Matthew like to have the very fruity beers for, you know, the warmer days. So we're gonna try this and we'll say how we like it. Okay, this is different than the other pineapple one you got. Matthew got another pineapple beer the other day that was like had like an actual cover over it.
It was a kind of more like a cider in that sense, and this is more like a flavored ale.
A flavored ale, yeah. And the other one was more of a cider. So I do like this. It has a little bit, it says it has blood orange and strawberry. I do taste that. And I like the art too. It kind of has like,
it kind of reminds me of
it's very summery.
The line in Kugel, the
California,
the lemon one that they usually have in the summer shanty that they usually have.
Yeah, but summer shanty is too strong for me. It's like it's too orangey. This is like really refreshing. It's a wheat ale. So it's by Golden Road Brewing. I wonder if they're out of California or something. It says LA. So yeah, they're out of LA. So cheers to LA, I guess. We're making some decent beer. Because usually the beer I like is from like the East Coast. So this is really good. All right, so I have a article I want to talk about. It actually is pretty recent. I mean, it came out last year, but it is pretty recent, having to do with Billy Porter. He is an actor in the show Pose. And if you guys haven't known about Pose, it's a show about trans and queer and gay community in the 80s, when they used to have houses where older gay and queer mothers or den mothers used to take in youths in New York City.
Focus, children. It is time we remind the world who we are. Jackpot. Mother, what do we take? Everything.
The category is royalty.
How does someone as talented as you wind up dancing for a whole bunch of junkies?
I want to be a star.
You ever consider joining a house?
What do you mean?
Well, a house is a family you get to choose.
I have bigger dreams of performing at some ball. I have nowhere else to go.
Come in.
It's that white boy again. Is this your first time doing something like this?
Whispering love.
Yes. What exactly is a ball?
Balls are a gathering of people who are not welcome to gather anywhere else.
Darling, the champagne is burnt.
This is what it's like to be a person at the top of the rainbow room.
What's better, the dream or the reality?
The reality.
What do you want out of life?
I want to be treated like any other woman. That's my dream.
Twirl. Baby, you are our secret weapon.
And that is how you do a ball.
That were struggling to find homes because they were kicked out for being gay or being different. And they basically raised them to be better and do better. And they kind of acted as their guardians, and so to speak. And the way that they actually communicated and celebrated and got together was they would have these balls. And they would go to this theater where they hosted balls or parties, and they would have judges, and then people would go in and dress to the nines, and it usually was a themed kind of thing, and they would dress and they would dance for trophies, and the trophies were recognition that they made it, that they could, do this on their own, they're part of a team, and that, they're showing who they really are through dance, through music, through clothing, and so the show speaks upon that and about the AIDS crisis in the 80s as well. So Billy Porter played an MC for these balls, and he was also a fashion designer. So if you wanted to get your clothes tailored or made, he was the guy you'd go to. And he was one of the first, surviving people of his age in the 80s that didn't die of AIDS or didn't contract HIV. But he saw all these people, all his friends, pass away. It was like a funeral every month, he said. Almost every week he would see someone die. And that was because they didn't know much about what AIDS did. They thought it was a stigma. It was attached to you. If you were gay, that's how you got it. And I mean, if you have sex with people, it doesn't matter if you're gay. If you share a needle, you can get it, right? So they kind of neglected the people in the hospitals. They just kind of let them wither and die. And Billy was kind of done with that. Now, I haven't seen the last season. It's on Amazon. I saw the first two, and I heard that the show ends in 94. So the show starts in like the mid 80s and then it ends in 1994. So I'm kind of excited to see how that ends in the 90s, because I grew up in the 90s, but I was like, 6 or 7 in 94. So I don't remember a lot. But he actually is starting a new project. It's going to be another Cinderella project. So a Cinderella version, a new modern day Cinderella, where he plays a genderless fairy god person. I'm going to say person. He says godmother, but I say fairy god person. And there are other actors that are playing the other characters who are all Black or queer or, you know, trans. I mean, it's going to be a whole LGBTQ soup of people, just like when they had now I can't compare it to the one with Brandy and Whitney, but it has that same diversity where like, oh, it's an Asian prince and like a Black mom and dad, and
much liberty as kind of what they did when they made The Wiz.
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah,
kind of that take off of the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. So I think it would be kind of interesting, and I think it's great because when that other Cinderella movie came out with Brandy, like no one really questioned why. I mean, I didn't question like why is the prince Asian and then his mom's Black and his dad's white. I was just like, it's a Cinderella. Like I didn't really see their ethnicity. It's a beautiful story.
Kids kind of have to be taught sometimes to see those things when all they see is just a character.
So I'm going to play his video real quick. This is an interview that he had about the show. So he did produce this himself. He's just talking about it.
Hit me when I was on the set last week, how profound it is that I am playing the fairy godmother. They call it the Fab G. Magic has no gender. We are presenting this character as genderless. At least that's how I'm playing it. And it's really powerful. You know, this is a classic. This is a classic fairy tale for a new generation. And I think that the new generation is really ready. You know, the kids are ready. It's the grown-ups that are slowing stuff down.
I thought that was interesting. So now I realize that the volume, the audio is only because I have the mic in. So that last video I had before with Black History, the drunk history, I thought it was the actual website that wouldn't let us use the audio, but it's because I had the microphone in. So I've learned that something new today.
All right.
But yeah, that's Billy Porter. So he's talking about how he wants, you know, the kids of now to see that you don't have to be a certain gender. You don't have to be a certain ethnicity. You don't have to have a certain, I mean, nothing matters in the fact that you are an artist, you appreciate art, you love art, you love the idea of underdog story like Cinderella.
Time to stop putting things in boxes.
A box, yeah, we said this before.
Yeah, I'm trying to make that there's only so many boxes. How about there aren't any boxes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how about everything's outside?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love about that. Yeah, and he looked great too.
Yeah, he looked good. I mean, it's like in the 60s, I think, and yeah, so I think that it's really great that, you know, someone like him can create something and want to be able to throw something into the mix of society where we still have those labels. We still have, even with LGBTQ, like it's still a label, right? There's still labels. And I think it'd be great to live in a world where people are pushing those boundaries and saying, yes, we appreciate that there's BLM. We appreciate that there's LGBTQ. We appreciate that there's the Stop Asian Hate, all that stuff. But if we can just come together and appreciate each other for who we are and still know that, yes, we have to respect where we came from, where our parents came from, why we have the life we have because of our ancestors. But like art is art. It's so fluid. It's so different. And like, I just love what he's doing. I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be coming out like later this year because that interview was from last year. That was right when Pose was done filming. So I have to watch the season 3. I'd like to be able to watch it so I can talk with you guys about it. I know by now people have already been watching it. So just in the future, there will be spoilers if I'm talking about it. You can always, you know, fast forward or like click off. I don't mind, but I'd like to be able to watch it because it's something that I really appreciated. I definitely cried and I definitely laughed. And I mean, that show really spoke to me, especially with the discrimination within the LGBTQ community where, you know, one of the characters was trans and she couldn't go to a gay bar. You know, they wouldn't let her in because she was a woman. And it was like, well, you're a woman. You're not supposed to be here. I mean, even if she was a straight woman in a gay bar.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about that show.
Within the community, it's like, what?
Like, yeah, there's
she's different like you. Why can't she be there?
Biases and, you know, kind of that whatever you want. Yeah, bias.
Or they just didn't understand what trans meant. Yeah. They didn't understand what it was. And now I think people are
we've talked
more
about
aware
that.
of that.
That's why it's important. Although we say it, and it's unfortunate, I think it's starting to get to be too synonymous. The LGBTQ plus community, they're separate. They're not. I mean,
they only put them in that kind of thing. We only put them
because it's so convenient to say it.
Yeah.
Now it's just gotten to a point where now I think too many people or an idea has gotten there that you're all the same. No,
yeah, and they're not. I mean,
they're
not. It's just that I think for people to be able to. People had to do that so that they could identify and be like, oh, well, this is, they're different than us.
Yeah, kind of what Billy was talking about, the kids in the younger generation, is they're ready to let go of that even as well.
Yeah, just take it all down.
Yeah.
Take it all down. And not to say that it doesn't matter either, it does. But I just thought it was interesting to see that. And I'm going to touch on this article about it a little bit. It was actually an article that was a little bit earlier, a little bit later than that show or that interview. So while I find that, why don't you talk about what's your ideas about what you think about the show? I know you haven't seen the show Pose, which I think you should, so that we can watch the third season together. But do you think that this will create more shows in the future where people are going to start doing that, where they're like, hey, it doesn't matter. I mean, I know that there was a plethora of shows where gay people played straight characters and vice versa. But do you think that it'll kind of push that envelope where people will start producing shows?
You're already, I think, starting to see a movement of just, I guess, taking, for example, right, the Simpsons, all those characters and who those people were. And now here they are kind of turning over and, the Indian character is now going to be voiced by an Indian actor. The black character is now voiced by a black actor. Whereas before they were all voiced by a white actor. Mm-hmm. And you're starting to see more and more of that kind of, I think, diversity within just TV shows and movies. Mm-hmm. And, we've talked about it's important that, people see that diversity, that if you're one of those people, it's important that you see somebody like that on screen, that you see that, there's other people and people, it's important that people that don't necessarily look like that see that. Mm-hmm. Because again, kind of like what Billy was saying, it's probably not so much everybody, because I really do think kids and kind of the younger generations, they're seemingly, at least right now for the majority, that's not a thing for them. It is truly us, the older generations, that have a hard time trying to
distinguish that,
comprehend some of that.
Yeah. And so it says that he said it hit me when I was on set last week how profound it is that I'm playing the fairy godmother. They call it the Fab G. Magic has no gender. He said, this is a classic fairy tale for a new generation. I think that the new generation is really ready. The kids are ready. It's the grown-ups that are slowing stuff down.
That's what he said, yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to be he made history as the first openly gay black male to win an Emmy for a lead actor role for playing Pray Tell on Pose. He continues to be an outspoken LGBTQ advocate and moving the needle when it comes to representation. Part of this is shown when he steps onto the red carpet, when he dons gorgeous gowns and outfits, making a statement for gender fluidity.
Well, I mean, just look at recently here within our last election cycle. I think you've had a number of individuals from that community that have been elected to rather high offices. Look at even somebody like even a Harry Styles, right? Wearing dresses, and it's not the thing. I mean, like we've talked about before, why do people genderize clothes? Why?
I mean, you can wear whatever you want. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's just kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say it's a negative thing or necessarily a con, but
it's not negative. It's just that
it does seem to hold us back.
Like we were saying before, when I was saying the last episode, oh, why does it have to be blue and pink, or girls can play with this or boys can play with that? It's whatever it is, let your kid be your kid. And then grow up to be that type of adult.
Why do we deny ourselves only 50% of things out there in the world when we could have 100%?
Well, and it starts with kids, right? It starts with the kids to let them know it's okay to be you. And it's okay to, like when I said, when they're old enough to go to school, let them pick their own outfits out. Like, you know, it was just like in Big Daddy. Remember when he let the kid dress himself and he called himself Frankenstein? Like, yeah, he's like, what's your name? What do you want to be? He's like, Frankenstein. He was like, okay, great, you're Frankenstein. Like, I want my own ass, you know? I mean, shit. Let the kid be who they want to be so they can grow up and not be an asshole and be an inclusive adult and be like someone like Billy. And you know, he said, for instance, that he was standing on the shoulders of the people in real life that he knew that passed away from HIV or AIDS and that, you know, didn't have a voice in that community. And that's what he's proud of, is that he said, I survived for a reason. I lived so that I could speak for my people and for people who are just trying to find themselves in this world. And I thought that was really cool. And honestly, I feel bad for not really following him before, because I don't really follow celebrities that much, but I think I'll definitely like kind of stalk him now and be like, what's he doing next? What's he doing next?
I hope so. Maybe that'll make a difference with some of these current bills that are going around in states that seem to kind of hinder, especially trans.
They trying, but they're not going to do it. Okay, so I thought this was a funny joke that I spotted on Facebook from a friend. So as you guys know, we started this podcast because of us going to nightclubs and going to Smart Bar Chicago. I know you guys see me wear that shirt yesterday. It's like the only club that we really liked going to, where we felt like we were family there and we felt like we could go and listen to some amazing music. And we met a lot of our friends there. And so, you know, if you're a person that goes to clubs and nightclubs and bars, you know that there's people out there that are fucking, you know, get kicked out. And that's always something Matt and I kind of enjoyed. It's like seeing people we're like, oh shit, like, especially if we knew the security. So we would walk out to have a breather and we would see people getting kicked out and I would always ask security, like, what happened? What did they do? Why did this happen? And then they would tell some crazy story. Like, it was always a crazy story that, you know, the reason why they got kicked out. And in the beginning, sometimes it was you and I that would go to them and say, hey, this guy's been like bothering people.
That. I don't know if it's the mixture, the alcohol, the dank basement music.
I don't know. It's just out of control. It shouldn't even have to do with that. But anyway, so my friend shared this on Facebook and I thought it was pretty funny. It's actually, let's see if I can save it, share it, because it's so hilarious. Like, I think that this is what everyone needs when they are at a club and they're acting out. They need to be given this. So I'm going to share it so we can see it. All right. So, congratulations. You've been kicked out of the bar because you started a fight. You're a massive douchebag. You broke or stole bar property. You brought outside alcohol. You're using a fake ID. Honestly, we just can't stand you, and we've been looking for an excuse to 86 you. Other. And then it says, I don't think I have all of it in here, but you may come back. Never. Tomorrow, when you grow up and learn how to act in a bar, when you actually turn 21. And then the last one says, I know it's cut off because I don't want to have any swear words on here, but it says, thank you, and A, have a good night, or go fuck yourself. That was kind of funny. So this is I don't even know who made this, if they made it or what.
I've seen that, but it's somebody had posted
it from Reddit?
Response that, I don't know if it's necessarily from there, but it was from
so it's a real
bar.
pink slip.
Yeah, no,
okay.
The bar hands those out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they were saying that they should do this at our favorite bar. And I think that would work with every place. I mean, it should just work anywhere, honestly.
No, I mean, most places post that. That's what I think a lot of people fail to realize, is that they're usually a private business, private ownership.
Mm-hmm.
They ultimately can rule whether or not they choose to serve you or whether or not they want you on their
especially
property.
Especially if they're private
they
property.
Have that right.
They have a right to not serve you in a lot of places, not just bars. But yeah, I mean, I think it should be honestly like part of, I mean, it would be great. It made me laugh because I was just like, oh my God, this is hilarious. But like, I didn't know if it was a real pink slip or if someone actually made it.
No, I think originally it is tied to an actual brick mortar bar, pub somewhere, that's what they issue when they've got, I think it's probably a good bet to say that it's in probably some kind of college town or some town that's probably known for, bar hopping and a lot of kind of extra excitement, maybe.
Do you think it would work well with like in the city, here in the city?
I don't think it would act as a deterrent. Honestly, if that bar is located in one of those kind of hot zones, I don't think it acts as a deterrent, but it is a quick way to, handle one of those situations is just boom. I don't think it's going to de-escalate a situation or necessarily make it better, but it is a funny response to it.
I think you could also just pass it to someone discreetly so that you're not making a scene. Depends on how they're going to react to it, but I've seen when we used to go to our Freakeasy festivals, they had a consent police or whatever that would make sure that people weren't getting touched or, getting in fights or anything. And people would go to them and say, hey, this person's harassing me. And then they would kick them out immediately. But they would get a warning if it wasn't that bad. If it was just someone that was just kind of like wanting to dance with you or kind of following you or something. But I think this is kind of like that, where I don't know. I never seen the pink slips, what they said on those. I'm sure it was something similar to this, or just saying I think it was like, this is your first warning and, just behave or whatever, something like along those lines. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So I suggest you guys share that. I'm going to post the photo of it or the link of it in the comments so you guys can share. Because I think it would be really great. To just give to people like, hey, have a good day or go fuck yourself. Like, it's just one of those, and you can check it. Those are the boxes we check. Those should be boxes. Okay, so my last article I wanted to talk to you guys about, it is in the life section of our podcast. This is about a man who's 79. He goes to a beauty school to learn how to do hair and makeup for his wife of 50 years after her vision is failing. So I thought this was really sweet. I'm a graduate of beauty school. I know how hard it is. I know all the work you have to put into it. And I really always appreciated all my teachers. I think I was more friends with them than I was of the other students because I saw how hard they worked. And it is something I considered almost doing after I was done doing hair, was to go back and teach. But I don't know. I'm definitely old enough, but I'd have to go back to school and like learn a curriculum and everything. But for someone to go to school at 79 to learn how to take care of his wife at 50 years.
Never too old.
Well, and just the fact that he was like, my wife, like her appearance means a lot to her and she can't see as much anymore. I forgot what the type of disease she has, but it's like that kind of
probably like macular degeneration.
Yeah, something like that. And so he obviously is nameless in here. They didn't say who it was, but he's from Alberta, Canada. He went to beauty school last week for a lesson on how to do his beautiful wife's hair and makeup. He said she's always taken pride in her appearance and it's important to her, but because she can't see, it's harder for her to be able to do that. He said that he wanted to learn how to do his wife's hair as she kept burning herself with the curling wand and because of her vision impairment. So I'm going to share this photo so you guys can see it. It's really quite cute. Jesus, man. I just think it's the cutest. Let's see if we can see this. So I'll share this with you guys so you can see. You can see him right there learning how to, and they got their masks on. They're doing the COVID safety. It says that Del Mar College set the loving spouse up with a student and a mannequin to teach him how to curl hair and protect his wife's skin. After he learned how to do her hair, he asked the beauty school employees for tips on how to apply mascara on his wife. He also asked for tips on applying mascara because that task was hard for her. So we gave him a makeup lesson too. We spent an hour with us for lessons on curling iron sets and mascara application. The husband's love for his wife touched the staff and students for the beauty school and had them in tears. He lovingly pulled pictures from his wallet showing everyone his wife and boasting about how beautiful she has always been and how talented she was with skill, set of typing over 100 words a minute when she was working. She added her appearance has always been something that she's taken pride in, and it's important to her. So therefore, it's important to him. He's turning 80 in May, and I think he is also a very brave man for stepping into a hair college and asking for lessons on styling hair. I don't think too many men could do that. So that was the director. Both the husband and wife have visited the beauty school again to thank everyone for their help.
Oh, good. There are two people. I was going to say, here's the twist. He is the wife.
No.
Bum, bum, bum.
So it says they both are impressed with his new professional skills and her hair is looking great. So he's actually, learned some things. So I thought that was really cute.
New tricks.
Yeah, I thought that was really cute. And I wanted to share that because, it's never too late to learn. It's never too late to try something new if it means that you want to be able to, help someone that you love. I mean, 50 years they've been together and her eyesight's going. He could easily just said like, oh, I'll give you some money. You can go to the hairdressers or you can get it done. But he wanted to do it for her. And apparently this month he's turning 80. So I don't know what day his birthday is, but happy birthday to you. 80 years old. It's just like when we talked about last year with the guy who was 79 who came out. I remember he had so many years of his life where he, was kept it in. He didn't come out until he was much older. So, I mean, I think it's really great that he wanted to do something selfless for his wife.
Never too late.
Yeah. So I thought that was really sweet. And I wanted to kind of end our podcast with that because, do something nice for people. You don't have to go to beauty school and do their hair, but it could be anything. Small, big, doesn't matter. As long as it's with the intent of seeing them happy and healthy.
One kind act.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to tell you guys that we love you and we want you to be happy and healthy and we want you to get your shots and wear your goddamn mask. I'm Megan.
I'm Matt.
And you're watching The Night Owl.